Just don't make a sound, please.
The International Monetary Fund has significantly cut its global growth forecast for the year ahead.
Yeah, this new assessment warns that economic conditions will, in fact, get worse. It also says that a severe worldwide recession is possible in 2023. The UN agency's World Economic Outlook predicts the global GDP will slow to 2.7%. That's down from a 2.9% forecasted in July. The report also suggests the top three global economies will continue to stall heading into the new year. In a statement, the agency's chief economist warned, quote, "The worst is yet to come." Gina Smialek joins us now for more on this. She is the Federal Reserve and economy reporter for the New York Times. Gina, we know that here in the United States, the Fed is trying to slow down our economy on purpose to combat inflation. Is that the largest contributing factor to the IMF's meager 2022 projections? Are there other factors that are really slowing down the global economy too?
What central banks are doing is a really important part of it. So we have seen the Fed raise interest rates 5 times this year. They're expected to raise rates more. And as that happens, central banks around the world are also raising interest rates either to keep up or because they're combating inflation in their own economies. And that is definitely dragging down growth. But it's not the only thing dragging on growth. Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the fallout from that war is a very important factor here. So the oil problems facing Europe this winter are an important contributor to this slower growth. And then we've also seen the continued shutdowns in China and the slowdown that is causing there and what is such a big economy. That is a very important factor here as well.
I mean, you can't have those large-scale global conflicts happening without an impact on the economy. But the IMF actually slashed its growth outlook for the U.S. this year from previous projections. I mean, just bring it back home, if you will, to people, to Americans, for the U.S. economy and our wallets moving forward.
Right. So they are projecting much slower growth here in the U.S., but still slightly positive. So I think that is the good news. They are not foreseeing an actual recession here in the U.S. I think that is out of line with what some of Wall Street is expecting. You see, economists, including those at Deutsche Bank, for example, forecasting an outright recession here in the U.S. next year. But it is clearly the case that we're in for a slowdown. The idea is that the economy needs to slow in order to allow the inflation that we're currently experiencing to moderate. And so it does seem to be the case that we're in for a pretty rocky ride here. The goal at the end of the day is that prices will stop increasing so rapidly, which obviously consumers would like for their wallets, but it's probably going to be a painful process to get there.
Yeah, that's the part that people are most concerned about, that pain that might accompany that slowdown that can bring down those inflationary pressures. But are there things that on a global scale that these central banks and government leaders can be doing to try and thread the needle, to make sure that they're minimizing the pain that people are feeling, that the economy doesn't actually slow down to the point where we are looking at a recession or worse, but still are able to bring down some of those inflationary pressures that we've all been contending with?
When you talk to policymakers, including those at the IMF, including in this report, what they'll mostly say is that this is a necessary period of pain that we have to get inflation down. Unfortunately, most of the things that policymakers could do to offset that pain would help to stimulate growth, and thus would not contribute to getting this inflation lower. But I think what the IMF does say in its report, and what people will often tell you, is that the place where elected policymakers, people who have the power to spend, can be useful here is in helping to sort of blunt the impact for the poorest in society. So, as the fallout from this sort of ripples through society, making sure people